not available tonight. Mr. Douglas.
Here.
Mr. Kotowski.
Here.
Dr. Phelps.
Here.
Mr. Thorson.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda items? Do I have a second? Second. Okay, discussion. I provided you, gentlemen, with a list of just 5 bullet points I'd like to add to the agenda that we can have some discussion and decide whether we want to actually do that or not. This is just an item of being able to, I'd like to add it to the agenda tonight, just items that we can get out to the public and talk about some of the things that we have done as board. For instance, I've seen a number of reports and information on turf saying that we have paid for turf and nothing about community involvement or business people helping. So I think in order to get that correct information out, I made this list. Okay? So I'd like to add this as an agenda item. I'll put it in as item. Well, we'll do it right after standing committee, right after superintendent's recommendation, if you guys are okay with that. I'll make it item 9, I guess. And then make item 10 executive session, 11 announcement for first 12 adjournment. You guys okay with that? Sure. Anything else? Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Mr. Kotowski.
Yes.
Dr. Phelps.
Yes.
Mr. Thorson.
Yes. Okay. Next is the remarks of the public. Please note all persons wishing to address the board have a 5-minute limitation. Please state your name, address, and topic. Are you volunteers? Going once. Take that one on. Thank you. Okay, treasurer's recommendation. Do I have a motion for the treasurer's recommendation now net statement and no reimbursement? So moved. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Anybody have any questions?
I did have one.
Yeah.
The list seems lengthy. Can you give us a little bit of insight over Finmar in terms of what these items are, just so everybody can know, update us on that?
Right, and what these, the now and then statements are what Mr. Douglas was referring to. These are invoices that we received before a purchase order has been put into the system. Most of these on the fund supplies, these are repairs that come up and they're unexpected. So those are in there. What we can do is put a blanket PO in, and that'll take care of a lot of those that we have available. Some of the others are meeting expenses and things like that that are in there. That someone goes out and buys pizza or something to that effect. So those are reimbursements for that. We have, see, another one that we have as a board. We had a contract with an outside provider, a professional research firm, and that's the largest item that you have in there, finding leaders. So
Is that a one and only payment?
that's a one. I don't know. That's a one invoice we get.
3,700.
Yeah, that's a half payment. Did we pay
That's a
anything
half
up front?
I don't know, because was there a clause there that they have to be successful?
No.
No, I don't think so.
But they agreed to suspend it based on we might be shifting over to looking for a superintendent. But remember that conversation? So the question is, are we paying them the half that we already owe them, or are we paying them
Can
full?
we pull that portion out till we get that answer?
No, that's already the first payment. That's already, that's the first payment. So what you're questioning is the second.
Yeah.
Which is in here.
Okay, that's the first payment that we
That's
have.
the first payment.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so that
we
we're
already did that,
yeah,
Sure.
that's
Okay. So what we'll want to do is get clarification on what the second thing
Yeah.
Okay, any more discussion? Roll call.
is. Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
And Mr. Blair?
Yes. Okay, standing committee discussions. You know that anybody's had any committee meetings such then that, you know, the tough part is Jackie's not here, and that's probably the largest portion of what we had to do, but this is on its third reading, and we really haven't had much discussion in the other two meetings about anything that anybody had an issue with. I mean, do I have a motion to adopt the policy changes as we have it on the third reading? So that would be policy review, update volume 32, number 2.
I'd like to move to suspend it until we can have Jackie here, because there was a question. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at your email, but Becky Finnick, some of you may know her. She was the chairman of our committee that passed the bond issue, the permanent improvement levy. Anyway, Becky sent out a question to the board about some language in here which required the superintendent, instead of filing his decisions within 2 days, doing it at his earliest convenience. And she was concerned, and I had seen that before and not been as concerned, but then it occurred to me we should probably get an explanation from Jackie as to why it's changed from a specific time to at his earliest convenience, because that's potentially leaving an individual who's filed a grievance of some kind up in the air. But the other thing is it could leave a superintendent open to criticism, because if there's a clear window, then the superintendent, by complying with it, has done his due diligence. So I'd like to hear from Jackie why that's there. There's probably a good reason, because of course these things are pretty well vetted, but I think it's better knowing that that we look at it and that there is a good reason for that, no longer being 2 days, but being at his earliest convenience.
Okay, so you're looking then to table this. Should we have a motion? And then the table? Okay, then we want to make a motion to table
I
this?
move that we table the third reading.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, well, as if we do this with 3 consecutive readings or a unanimous waive to adopt this, is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think, like what Ben said, I think there were some things in the past that we were involved with where it took weeks to address something. And I think not having any timeline at the earliest convenience could mean 6 weeks, could mean 4 weeks, could mean 5 days. So I agree with Ben. I mean, I think if at the earliest convenience, we already ran into that one time, and I think that should be more clear as far as if there's an grievance or there's got to be a timeline, not like 6 or 8 or 12 weeks. But, so it should be more clear, and we can ask Jackie.
Yeah, I mean, because if she has a good reason, like it's due to some response to changes in state law or something, which sometimes these things are, then we go ahead with it. But I'm worried that it puts everybody in a bad position. The superintendent, because then people could criticize him because he took 7 days that he actually needed, or he took, I mean, it puts everybody in a bad position, potentially, not having a clear timeline. So.
All right, well, so that we recognize the motion that's on the floor is to table this until we've had a chance to have Jackie come and give some explanation. Discussion's over. Roll call.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Dorsey?
Yes. Superintendent's report, recognizing that we pretty much had a meeting every week. I don't know how much more stuff you have to report, but please.
I have no report this time.
It was nice and easy, huh? How about recommendations, superintendent's recommendations?
Item A.
Do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendations?
Okay, so moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So item A is just your typical personnel. B is the I want to clarify on B, approve high school varsity girls golf as a district-sponsored interscholastic athletic team effective immediately. And I spoke with Mr. Bishop. Effective immediately means we're going to start working on this now, and we look forward to the girls golf season, in the fall. So
Thanks, Mr. Bishop, for your work, and Mr. Cardero on that. I mean, that's excellent. Yes. That's excellent. Good job, guys.
So thank you.
The right thing happened there. So, good deal. Thank you.
And then just your, ESC contracts, we get our service from Educational Service Center. We did raise substitute rates, correct, Mr. Russo, to become somewhat competitive in line. We've got an extension for business products. The renovation, the recognition restoration project, house build. Mr. Russo, are those folks want to do that now?
I'm not sure if there's anybody here from the list that I sent, because Chris Consilla emailed me earlier today and said he was unable to make it because he had another commitment tonight, and Mr. Kuchera couldn't make it. And I asked him if anybody else was going to attend.
They reached out to me as well to say we'd rather not be recognized, we'd rather be anonymous. So, with the board's permission, I'd like to maybe just send a letter to them from the board stating that we really appreciate the effort that they made. They want to be anonymous, let's allow them to be that way, and to give their gift to the students without much fanfare, and I think that's awesome.
That's fine. And then we also received the list of the items that they did as far as the renovations, so it's phenomenal.
It's been extensive. I hate to say to the audience, hey, use the restroom if you get a chance, but holy cow.
Yeah,
No offense to my wife, but it might be nicer than the restrooms I have in my home. It's pretty nice stuff. It was a great gift that they gave to our community and to our kids. So, very nice.
And then, so thanks to them as well. And then also we've got our occupational health services contract donation and approval of professional development offerings semester 1. Those are some, the PD, the professional development that we offer to our staff, just to help them along and do some professional development in the classroom. Help kids. So those are my recommendations.
I had a couple questions, maybe more directly to you. We've moved our, I guess, the base rates, and I'm looking at the substitute rates. And again, not having any basis for this, just trying to understand this. We did this because we're out of line with what we're offering.
significant.
So it's more of an effort to make sure that we are in line with what other districts are offering.
Yes. We surveyed at least 6 to 8 school districts all within our area, and we're low in all instances. And we're not the highest of anybody, trust me, but we're competitive at least with Chardon, Kenston, at least the locals, so we can compete.
That's a result of not doing this, and we lost anybody that was pretty good, or were we getting close, or?
I would guess we have, because we have a difficult time acquiring subs. And mainly in the transportation area, but that's an Ohio
Epidemic.
because it's just tough to get bus drivers.
But I would interject here that it does affect some of our programming. If you talk to some of our building administrators, part of the issue is when we can't find sub drivers, it affects some of our educational processes as far as field trips and some of the things that we plan. So we have to go. Now we have to go in between the routes, the time of day. Mr. Bishop may want somebody to leave at 7:30 per se and whatnot. So therefore, we're not able to do that. We can't recruit these sub drivers.
It didn't seem like a major increase. There were increases, and I'd like to try to be able to have some background when we approve that. Okay. And then I think we've all seen the emails going back and forth just to bring us up to speed with kind of the track project. How did that get started? Where are we at with that?
Well, I actually inquired last week of Vasco, who did construction foundation work, about the possibility of resurfacing our track. They told me that they could put us on the schedule, but it would be early to mid-October, and that becomes very iffy because you're getting to the stage now with asphalt plants closing, et cetera, where it's going to be difficult for them to do that, so they have not committed to me to do that. Then Field Turf had sent me the quote also. Now, Field Turf, as you recall from the stadium project, is on AEPA, which means that it's already been bid out. So that price that they sent me has already been a bid approved price, but Vasco submitted a slightly lower price than that. So we could go with Vasco to have it done. The problem is whether or not they can schedule us before we run out of time.
Appreciate you looking into it, because I kind of thought that was sort of something we put on the back burner.
Well, and I did put it on the back burner, basically because of the events. I mean, the stadium now, once we got that turf done, it's a lot of use, and you have to take that off limits for at least a week. And weather dependent, it could be longer. So, the fall season's a difficult time. The other part of the problem, however, is that if you wait till spring, you're going to end up waiting until after draft season.
They also talked about extending that track. It's an email, extending it to where there's that gravel area. Is that something that could be possible?
Well, I'll look at it. What they're talking about is asphalting that gravel area and seeing it as a result of doing the resurfacing, because Vasco is also an asphalt contractor. If they could do the asphalt and tie that in at a better price. But I'll look into that regardless.
Thank you. Appreciate all your work with that. One other question, and I'm sorry, because it's just fresh on my mind. Have we run into any scheduling problems with the heavier use on that field?
I wouldn't say, Mr. Cardinaro's doing a pretty good job right now managing that. I'm going to tell you, we have, just to give you an example, I've used this once already with the PTO parents. Let's look at the first game. The first game that got rained out, we had to reschedule the game to be completed the next day. On top of that, we had a junior varsity football game, junior varsity soccer game, and a varsity soccer game all on the same day. But this field is being used constantly, and if we were on our old field, we probably would have just gotten in that varsity game and we'd had to reschedule all the other ones. So just to give you an idea of the impact that it's having on the kids here, it's significant, and just appreciate it.
The kids been pretty positive
Oh,
about using that field.
You got, you love, there's kids out there all the time. Middle school, Lions, there's kids on that field all the time.
Awesome. And then, of course, the last thing before, I'm sorry, but Jim, there was some kind of concern about restrooms and people being able to utilize restrooms now. We kind of got that worked out.
Pretty much. I would like to mention one other thing. On the agenda, it talks, you're accepting donations, that's part of the agenda. One of them was for that track storage building.
Yes.
That's not completed yet 100%. So once it's completed, I'll come back to the board and inform you that it has been completed. That's still a work in progress.
Are they putting concrete in the interior? Because I know they moved the gravel, right?
Yes, right. They moved the gravel on Friday. Eric Nelson was phenomenal.
I'm so amazed and overwhelmed by what this community does. It's incredible. I mean, it really is. He had all of his boys out there moving 40 tons of gravel.
Absolutely. And to make matters worse, they couldn't truck it in because it's so wet behind the field there that they had to literally dolly it in.
Just to tie into that, which amazes me because you alluded to the Plain Dealer wrote one article saying that the church was being funded by donations, but then a week or two later they wrote another article stating that it was all publicly funded, taxpayer, and alluding to all taxpayer funded. And instead of writing an article about the amazing thing that the community has done, given their talents, given their resources, the article was written, the tone of the article was, well, we're supposed to be spending money on education, but they decided to use public money on the church. And this is the Plain Dealer, so, I wish they would be out here writing an article saying, look what these people have done. Look what the community has pulled together to do, instead of saying, it's all about the tone. And I think we all appreciate that the tone of the community has just been awesome. And kids are out there, so I can't speak enough about what they did.
We have a motion on the floor.
I have one question for Mr. Nutter. You included the comparisons for the special ed fees, from 13-14 to 14-15. There's a 30% increase. Is that based on our usage?
That's from the ESC, yeah, it's usage.
All right.
And we're looking into, make sure we're utilizing that. In fact, we talked about that today. Yeah.
Thank you.
And congratulations to girls golf. I want you to know, I shoot a 64. On the front nine. Just the front.
Thank you.
And it'll help I can get.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I applaud the young lady who made that presentation. It was well thought out, it was well done, and respectful. It was great. It was a great job. Look forward to seeing the success for everyone's company.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor.
And Wayne, just quick, I didn't, the Lake Health Occupational Health Services, is there a yearly fee for that, or is that a, has used fee, and is it bid out to, because I know people have to go all the way up to Mentor, so I don't understand how it works, but.
No, that's for the use of our bus drivers, so we can do random drug testing, medicals, et cetera. We currently do, they have to go to Garfield Heights to do it currently, so we're trying to get it closer because it makes it much less of an inconvenience.
No, that makes more sense, I just didn't know how it was.
Yes.
That's great.
Roll call.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Yes.
Dr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Wilson?
Yes. Okay. What I'll do too, I'll just kind of read some of these bullet points that I provided to the board. And I'd like to introduce this just because it occurred to me, it seems like we meet almost weekly, but it occurred to me that we haven't done a very good job of telling our story. Without doing that, our story is told for us. A great point was what Dr. Phelps just said. There's kind of some misinformation about what we did with the turf, or how that worked, or what our game plan was. So I was going to read through these, and I did them as bullet points, and if you have recommendations, let's discuss those, because I would like to put a piece out to the paper with your permission, the board approval, okay? Now, number one, the turf project. This is a project the school board acted upon with financial support to cover the cost while donations are being collected by the turf committee. A project that is more than 80% funded by the community and businesses, with a small portion by WestGBrd School District. This was a great example of the school working with the community for the benefit of our student athletes. Through the efforts of the turf committee, a project that would have cost the district close to $1 million actually cost $725,000. District contribution would be $100,000 per year. Now, there's no real way to know how that's all going to pan out, but they've already raised $40,000 to $50,000 with our effort to get this going forward. If we had waited another year, that would have cost us a lot more than $725,000. But I think by getting that out, it allows our community to understand we didn't just write a check and nothing else happened with that. What do you guys think about that? Good?
No, I think it was 400, I think you said 40 to 50, it was 400 to 500, is what they raised, right?
To date, they're above 500.
500.
Because they've got another 45,000, maybe 65,000 from that, 525. Our portion of this was supposed to be the $20,000 that we had spent anyway to recondition the field. It was something that we had budgeted for years to do. So,
What have they actually raised now? I know they've got a ways to go, but it's not very far.
we raised it. They've given us a check for $200,000.
Right.
They have scheduled to give us another check.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
And they've got in-kind. Is there a value on that? Yeah.
That was an actual check that we had sent to
Right,
them.
right.
I think what we can do is our next meeting, have the turf come and tell us where they're at and how that's looking. And I think that would be just a milestone for the community. They have been so awesome in being transparent. They will hand to Karen just an itemized list of all the things and all the expenses and all the costs down to paper cups. I mean, they really done a great job of that, so that there's no one can ever say that what we did was inappropriate in any way. So, yeah, we can definitely have them come to the next meeting. I know they have another between $50,000 and $100,000 check for us. So, just look forward to that.
Yeah, what I was wondering, Dan, is do we know how much those in-kind donations are worth? Because, okay, they've got, like, they gave us 200, they'll give us another 50, but there are hundreds of thousands in in-kind donations, right? I mean, we've got the restrooms that were valued at $32,000. We've got
That was not a project.
That's not a part of the.
That was not a project.
That's a side event. Okay.
Yeah, that was.
But we also have the sand that was donated valued at what, $20,000. We've got Mr. Excavator did an enormous amount of work there, which was tens of thousands of dollars worth of work. So we have, you know, in addition to those cash donations, we have in-kind donations, which I would think, you know, hopefully we can figure in and get a good idea of where we stand.
Again, I think we'll have the turf committee here, get that report so that we all have a better understanding of what we're saying. Open enrollment. We've all been starting to get those emails. I had hoped for the community that we would have something a lot sooner than we have it today. And so I do apologize about that. But the open enrollment piece, we're reviewing all the data provided by the superintendent, administrators, and of course the community in an effort to provide a clear and concise plan of West Geogga's open enrollment policy for 2015-2016 school year and beyond. Giving those students as guests of West Geogga enough time to evaluate the right plan for them to continue their education. I think we can all agree part of our issues last year was we reacted too slowly and didn't give those children who were affected by our policy of open enrollment enough time to react. So I think as we look forward to what we are going to do with open enrollment, what that piece will look like, it will give those residents that are affected, or excuse me, those guests of ours, if you will, those open enrollment students, a chance to react and decide what's the best fit for them. And I'd look to really have that done by November 1st. That's going to require maybe even more retreat to do that. But I see one day of us getting all the information collected. Mr. Nutter's been working on it and just hammering it out, getting the facts. You know, what do we collect? What is the expense for open enrollment? And what's the impact? And we all get emails, I think, on a daily basis from the community of what they're in, you know, what the impact is on them. Okay? And so I would encourage the community as well, just to reach out to us. What do you think? How do you feel? Just
before we go on, will that include financial impact, whether, you know, either way? That's the thing.
Yeah, and I think if this goes out to the community, we should mention the financial impact, that we'll have time also to assess the financial and educational impact, because...
So when I'm saying you're doing all the data, maybe we add financial and...
Well, giving the students as guests of, an S in there, of West Geogga, enough time to evaluate the right plan for them to continue their education and consider the financial impact on West Geogga schools.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
Oh, one more thing, Dan. Under turf project, I think you want to say also to benefit our student athletes, and I know technically maybe the band, because they get credit for a phys ed course, but do we want to say and the band or something? I mean, is it, because, you know, it's not just athletes, other people are using it besides athletes. And I think if we brainstorm, there are probably other people besides just the band using it. You know, I mean, if you consider, you know, Wolverettes and so on. How would you phrase it?
How would you phrase it? You feel like you're in the
Yeah, I would say, that's right, anyone and everyone. I mean, this is an opportunity for our PE classes to be out there. I'm sure that other classes will be out there. You get the size class out, the measurements, you know, honestly, the opportunities are endless.
So change it for the schoolwork and the community for the benefit of all of our students?
Yeah.
Again, I just really felt that we hadn't hit the mark on some of these things. Let's get them in writing, let's get it down, so I appreciate your feedback. Test scores and rankings. The best score, yes, than we had last year, and I wanted to thank administrators and teachers and staff for a job well done. We're now back to where we were 3 years ago, but in essence, we have to be careful. We're now closer to that being the top 5 in 5 years. And so I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that goal. You know, our competition, Kenston, rose 10 spots. And so we want to make sure that, you know, some of our buildings had improvements, some didn't. So we want to make sure that we're keeping track of that, making sure that, you know, we take the accolades from it, but not resting on our laurels, making sure that we're staying focused on what we need to do. Okay?
Boy, this is not very PR-ish though, Dan. I mean, we're not tooting our horn here. I think,
What would you like to say?
okay, well, I wouldn't say we're no closer to the top 5 in 5 in the sense that we are closer because we rose a number of spots. So we rose to 42, weren't we at 47?
but when we started this goal, we were at 42. I mean, when we started our goal to be the top 5, we were at 42.
Yeah.
We're back at 42.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you don't want to say, I want to make sure that we understand that, you know, like, I use the analogy of the Browns. Great game, they still lost. And so, you know, we're doing a good job, we rose, but we still have to, you know, we still have to mind what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, what do we want to emphasize here? I mean, I would emphasize the fact that we got the best scores we've ever gotten, you know, numerically. We've never done better. Now, other people are doing well, and so we only climbed up to where we were 3 years ago, but it's certainly something that's worth stating that we got the best scores we've ever gotten. And I wouldn't mention our competition rose 10 spots, because in a way they're not our competition. I mean, you know, are they really our competition? They're another district.
I disagree, because I think as people look at where they're going to put their kids in the community, I think that Auburn, WestGBrd, and Russell, you know, there are 3 communities that people look at. And so I think schools have a huge impact as to where people are going to buy a house. And so in that becomes, if you're offering students, you know, if you're offering students a great education.
No, I see what you mean. I see what you mean in that sense. It doesn't actually say that, though, because you're emphasizing the fact that we want to be an attractive community. And what this says to me is that, you know, we see other school districts as competition in the strictest form, where, you know, what we want is best education for our students. I mean, we could send something around to do this. Have we done any kind of press release? Like,
That's what I'm looking
yeah,
at.
this is a press release. Yeah, because I could see expanding on this, because this could be a little longer. You know, you've got 4 good sentences. I will. I'll circulate this to everybody, and then you can take a crack at it and get it out for, you know, for the press.
Okay, alumni piece. To date, we've raised $75,000, which we can all argue is a huge return on our investment. Even if that position hadn't covered the salary, this presence in our community is a welcome improvement to an area that the district had been missing the mark in the past. She's done a phenomenal job, and I think we need to tell our community, our alumni position, the turf folks love her. She's done a great job, as well as that's not the only funds that she's raised for the school, but she's done a great job. You might be able to speak to that. Has she been doing a yeoman's job? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. It's a great position. I think she's perfectly suited for it, and she's done very well.
What do you mean by even if the position hasn't covered the salary? I thought she was getting...
Even if that position had covered, she's getting $27,000. She raised $75,000.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's confusing. I just take that out. You know why? Because then somebody like me won't read it and misunderstand that, you know what I mean? Because somebody could easily read it and misunderstand that we're not covering her salary, because at a glance, that's what I thought. And, you know.
I want to just remove that like sentence and just leave it on this presence in our communities.
Well, you could put it positively, that, you know, that this position has more than covered, has far exceeded the salary. You know, you put it in the positive rather than the negative. So put it in the positive, this position is far more than covered the salary and this presence in our community.
I look forward to our next meeting and see what your
Yeah, well, you can see it before the next meeting. I think since, well, I don't know. Can we circulate this to everybody, Mike? Because it's something that will be voted on, I suppose, or does it have to be? I mean, you could release this as superintendent.
I could. I think, you know, we commented on our report card. We're addressing some of the other issues as far as the test scores and rankings behind the scenes here. So we did address with the media the report card piece. So
yeah.
When we do that? Because I read the articles, and you know, I read articles about Berkshire, I read articles about Chardon.
So we contacted, we called back the Chagrin Valley Times. I spoke to the author who had already submitted the article, so that's why we were quoted. And then it was just a timing piece of the puzzle. In terms of internally, we've met as an administrative team and talked about the nuances of the grade card, because obviously the grade card's more than a singular performance index. There's so many pieces of the puzzle, so, and a lot of complexity to it. So we began talking about ways we're addressing it by building, by area, and central office. And so, you know, you really have to look at it across the entire data pool and pull strands apart to really understand areas of focus. And they're consistent.
Nancy, what can we tell the community as a positive piece?
Well,
I appreciate that we're doing that inside.
Sure.
I really do. But what do we tell my next door neighbor?
I think what you should tell your next door neighbor, you should never have given me the floor, and all my whole administrative staff is like, oh boy, oh boy. You know, here's what I would want you to tell your staff, and this is what I would tell our community. It is our highest ever performance index. And let me tell you why that's important. It is a single measure of growth over a year's time. It is the most important measure in terms of student growth that you would look to when you look across the expanse of the report card. It is a very important measure. It is not to take away from the competitive nature of your administrative staff in getting to the top 5 and 5. I think you have a team of people that is highly dedicated to that end, highly dedicated to looking at the nuances of areas we need to do better in, that we understand that we need to improve in. And I also think that we have a staff that is dedicated to us rowing in the same direction. And that really has to be the fundamental piece that you start with foundationally. Does everybody have a keen understanding of the areas of focus? Is everybody committed to the work? And I would tell you, and I would say that our staff is rowing the same. We understand the work, we've dedicated the work ahead. We are having very serious conversation about what that looks like and what it means to the work moving forward. But I think that they're to
Yes.
focus on the work. Yes, go ahead.
Excellent job. However, okay, we talked about this before. Dummy it down for your school board president. Okay. What do we tell our community that we're doing? Where have we done a good job? In a nutshell, where do we need to improve? I mean, and I don't expect you to answer that now. I'm just saying. Can we? From that standpoint, okay.
I just would say that our performance index is the highest it's ever been. And meanwhile, we'll continue, in 2 years, you're going to be rated a different way. And there's some issues with that. So we'll continue to work on that here, but at a district level, we are achieving, and we're doing a good job of doing that. Our PR, and go from there.
Well, and that may be something that we table in this PR piece that maybe I should have a better understanding as to, or even Mr. Nutter, have a better understanding to report to our committee. But I would like to say, if we've done the best we've ever done, I'd like an avenue to be able to tell our students and their parents how and why, and how that all works. And that probably starts, and I apologize, with educating me, maybe some of the other board, well, I can only speak for myself, and educating me what these test scores mean, where we did great and where we need to improve. Because they're a benchmark, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't mean to be rude.
Oh, no.
I know you understand, I got no clue.
No, but I was gonna ask if we could have a grade card 101 class. I mean, just, because obviously there's, like you said, there's nuances in what you read on the Ohio education site. I mean, there's obviously more insight than what I can read on the computer, on the website. I guess what I'm saying. And if it's going to change, and we're
He's
planning.
requested me not have to be there. No, I
But if we-
do a lot of field for
if we
points
can-
and I'm trying to be
But I think if we could, what the forum is to do is the forum.
I think what you're asking is, these are all good questions. We can address all these. We need a little more information on some of these before we can adequately address them.
Right.
Some of them are financial, some
Down the
of
road,
them, the report card itself, I mean, we meet weekly to talk about, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to ODE. For us to adequately, to do it justice, we meet weekly, but my point to explain to the board and the community in an aspect, in a manner that would be simplified to make sense to the masses. We need to be able to explain and extrapolate all the data that you've just received and say, okay, here are some of the issues that we do. Here's something you do very well. there's some things coming down the road in a couple of years you really, really need to be aware of.
I wouldn't mind if we even did, as a portion of our meeting, sections like that. You know, one meeting could be talking about where we improved, all those things, and then another meeting could be where we need to improve, because I think that would be really beneficial. So is that what Jim said?
He's super excited about that.
I totally agree with that. In fact, you know, we've had discussions, I think everybody here, about why is it that our bottom 30% is not excelling the way we want them to, and that, in a way, is even more important to us as a board and to the administration. You know, the public needs to know we're doing a good job, but we as a board and the administration have to say, why is it that our bottom 30% are not achieving in the way that similar schools with similar demographics are seeing their kids achieving? And that to me is something, if you could enlighten someone, because we really have to address that. And everybody here agrees, I know that already.
And we talked about both ends of that spectrum.
That'd be great.
Well, I think
Yeah.
going forward, you know, and I say these things because, you know, we're going to get bogged down in some other issues within our communities. I mean, we decided to keep us focused on that. The last piece was technology. Sean, to you. Recognizing that our students excel with the best technology possible and a reliable method to put those tools in their hands, Sean Willen has been promoted to an administrative position to upgrade our technology platform and provide the district with a replacement plan and direction so that curriculum and technology can easily be implemented to our students. You know, when I first became a board member, I was pretty excited by the fact that we had iPads in each one of our grades. But then, in going through a tour, I think Mr. Bernanke had showed me the classrooms, I suddenly got this panic. How are they using them? And how does that work? To find out that Sean had been working with implementing them with Brenda in testing was pretty cool. Then the next piece of that puzzle, to take that to the next step, where now we're looking at a plan to replace our technology and how will we purchase our technology and how we use those. We found the greatest guy to do that. I mean, so many people had told me, you gotta use Sean, and you gotta figure out a way where Sean can have a larger platform, and we were able to do that as a board, and I think that's been a huge, huge asset to us going forward. And I'm pretty excited to see his plans and what he has in store for us. So, you know, if you're in agreement, if we can use these bullet points and maybe just hold off on the testing, although I think it was kind of relevant because the other schools have been talking about it, maybe the turf, open enrollment, alumni, and technology, and allow our superintendent to get those pieces out to the papers and out to the public, and maybe even Sean on our website. I'd be satisfied with that. I just spent all weekend thinking about, we're not telling our story. And we're not telling our story, someone else is telling it for us. And they're telling stories, Dr. Phelps, like, you know, we funded the complete football field for football players. Not all the students, like we're talking about. So I think it would go a long way. So we, as a discussion, we agree with our superintendent.
I think we should do that, and Mike, I'd like to, rewrite these as PR releases. What you typically do in a PR release, for instance, is you take a positive approach. The other thing you do is you try to get quotes. You try to have people in it, so we could get, some quotes in this, and often you send out pictures,
Testimonials.
Just classic PR. So we'll do that, and this way it can be circulated to everybody, because it's your call, whatever we use, is your call. And this way, the entire board can see it, because it wouldn't, that way it wouldn't interfere with, am I correct, Karen, that it wouldn't interfere with, okay.
Plus, I can usually some more time with Carrier to plug it. There's some financial numbers behind it. I mean, language is a lot of times people's finance, so there's some things we have to talk about.
Well, and I certainly, wasn't meant to, to get the district in trouble. So,
We're good.
can I make the motion to have the superintendent do that? Would that be the appropriate way and vote on that, or we could just give them the instruction?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want me to motion? Mr. Nutter. Make that look better. Okay.
Oh, we're done. Thanks. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to go to executive session for Ohio Revised Code 121-32G1 to consider discipline of public employees in Ohio Revised Code 121-22G1 to consider employment of public employees. We have a second? I'd like to invite Karen and Mr. Nutter into that meeting, and there will be no action taken after the meeting. Roll call.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Yes.
Dr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Jones?
Yes.